Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are having a look at the fourth and final airplane map which has been added to War Thunder in update 1.81. The Vietnam maps that we're going to be looking at are mainly focused around the idea of helicopters, so this is the last plane map that you'll see in your Air Realistic Times, or maybe even Air Arcade. I believe these are all Air Realistic ones, but you never know. Especially with a map like this. So, what map are we looking at today? This is Moscow 1941, and as you can see it's very similar to France 1944 and Hurtgen's Second Battle, set up in a way where you have the triangular bases here, and then you have 3 points of contact in the center when it comes to the ground forces. Now, the difference to me that seems to be between this one and the other two that we had a look at, this seems smaller than the others, and also there is no bridges, there is no points of contact where you can actually stop each force running into each other, so therefore, to me it seems like a lower tier map. Now, does this mean you won't see this map at high tiers? No, of course not. There are many small maps which you do see at high tiers, especially in ground forces, but also in air forces, and with that said, the one thing to watch out for on this map, which may catch you out compared to the other two, is the amount of time it takes you to get to an engagement. Obviously, with an air spawn, it means that the time to engagement is going to be incredibly short compared to what you're used to if you normally spawn at the airfields. And what this means is you're going to be able to get into the action faster, and this will suit certain planes over others. Playstyles will have to change, playstyles and also meta, depending on what vehicles you're using. A lot of vehicles from 0 meters to 4,000 meters do really well at climbing, whereas others do well from 4,000 to 6,000, so therefore your playstyle will have to be moderated, or will have to be changed in order to be, effective on these maps. So, with the way that this map is set out, it is nice to once again see the 4 bases. What is a little bit of a shame, though, is the fact that 3 of the maps that we've looked at, and Operation Iskra being the 4th, they have all had the same layout. The only difference, really, is the amount of, either the bridges that are involved, or the scenario. France 1944 being based around the northwestern side of France, the Hurtgen map being in the northeast, and then this being based around, as you can see, Moscow. Basically, it feels like they've taken a template for a map and reskinned one for green and brown, one for brown, and one for white, and that is what they've done. And if that's the case, then unfortunately that's very sad. After looking at the Operation Iskra map and looking at these 3 maps, you can definitely see ideas here which are being tested. The fact that you have the air spawn from the start if you want to take it, or you have the option to go on the airfield. You giving the player the choice is wonderful. The fact that you have 4 bases and 2 airfields, meaning that bombers have less of a chance of ending the game as quick. A lot of fighter pilots were saying that it was kind of annoying when bombers would take out bases, in the first 5 minutes, and then take out airfield in the first 10 minutes, and I understand the issues there. The issue, though, really is pertaining to a few aircraft and not bombers in general, and with changes like this, when you add more bases and add more airfields, it screws the lower unmeta bombers more compared to the other ones. But yeah, that is another discussion for another time. If we have a look at these 3 points of contact, you will see that the top and the bottom ones have access to light pillboxes, howitzers, and AA. Once again, the AA is very aggressive, as it always is. And one thing that I suppose is a slight difference compared to the other maps is that on the northern and the southern point, they both have pillboxes, AA, and howitzers, whereas in the middle bit, there is only one set of pillboxes and pillboxes on the other side. As you can see, looking on the map, you have 1 and 2 here, and you have 1 and 2 here. Oh, Jesus, there's a B-17. Let's just take a few pot shots. Here, I'll show you what I mean. So, you know how every other map, when it came to the AI, there was a sense of there was one force which was coming at the enemy, and then the other force was also coming at the enemy. So what you would have is two opposing forces meeting in the battlefield. On this, there is much more of a sense of a attack and defense idea. You can see from this in the north, you have 2 spots of medium tanks, AA, and armored cars pushing towards these pillboxes, but no counterattack from said pillboxes. In the middle, you have an offensive from the east moving west, and then in the south, once again, you have the west moving east. So there is this sense that there are different areas where each side are attacking, but the main thing to understand is it's not like the other maps where both sides are attacking each other at the same place. You will have to pick areas to, go after. If you want to bomb a column of tanks or rocket it, the best thing to do is to go for the center if you are coming from the west side, and if you're coming from the east side, go for the north or the south. If you're trying to bomb a bridge, well, you better find a different map, because this one doesn't have any. And if you want to go after pillboxes, well, if you're on the east side, you can go anywhere, but I would definitely say go north or south in order to get the most pillboxes possible. And then from the west side, you can go from the north or the south and just forget the middle. Which is good. The fact that you have a little bit of change from the other maps is a good sign. The major layout of the map, though, and the way that it plays, is going to be incredibly similar. And this is the problem. So I've talked about how in the other 2 maps, you can see it's a great step in the right direction. We have more bases, more airfields, we have air spawns, a lot of stuff that a lot of people have been asking for a very long time. And with this, there's also, there's some of them which have no AA, there's others which do have AA. This map does not have AA on it, by the way. And so there are changes here that, take the normal core mechanics and change them up slightly to be able to make it different. So make these maps different to the ones that you're normally used to. And this is something that has to be done. A lot of the aerialistic maps in War Thunder are pretty much the same, unless they have a specific AI in specific places. So Berlin is a map which is very different to the newer maps that we've seen. The reason for this is where each of the AI places are placed. So you have columns of tanks in the center, you have a bunch of AI in the east, you also have the IL-2s around the place, and then you look at a map like, I believe it's called Mozdok or something like that, then what you have there is, it may not be Mozdok, but you know which one I mean, basically the one which used to be used for alternate history all day, and it's the one where the Americans fight the Soviets. There's mountains everywhere, and there's a base on the east side, there's 2 bases on the far side, and then if you want to approach it from the other side, where you end up is 3 bases very close to the airfield, and there's also some ships around. Like, there's a ton of stuff to do on that map, right? A ton of stuff. But what we saw when they introduced stuff like El Alamein and Normandy is a restructuring and a lot of maps which were incredibly similar to each other. And this to me meant that every map was played out the same. Now with these new maps, you can see innovation, you can see differences, but fundamentally 3 out of these 4 maps are incredibly similar. So even though the general design is different to what we've seen before, the map itself, compared to the other 2, so comparing this Moscow to France 44 and Hurtgen's second battle, they're going to all play out very similarly, unless, the bridges become a big system in the other maps. So with that said, it kind of sucks, in a way, that we have some cool innovations, we have these interesting ideas, but they are limited in the fact that all 3 maps are similar with them. The only one which offers anything different is Operation Iskra, which is much more of the Berlin style of things, where you have different ideas going off in different areas. So I'm hoping that I personally see Operation Iskra more than I do these maps. Now, if what I'm thinking is true, and this is going to be the much more lower tier version of the other two maps that we see, just because of the size of it, then that would make sense to me. Because to the battlefield you're looking at 12 kilometers, and this is just to show, look, there's no AA around this airfield over here. So let's just go this way. But yeah, basically this map, if you want to look at it like that, it's about 30 kilometers across, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. But if this is 12 kilometers, then we can just say around about this is going to be 24. So across is about 30 kilometers. This is not a large map at all. It may be pushing maybe 40, but my guess is around 30 kilometers across. And with an air spawn, that means that battles are going to happen incredibly quickly across the place. So my guess is that this is going to be a much more lower tier map, that every so often you'll see a higher tier. You can see how the changes made to this are geared much more towards lower tier, being able to, you know, get to the action quicker, and also with the fact that having more like pillboxes, more stationary targets compared to tanks, making it easier for people in general to be able to hit them, since they are stationary over movable targets. Hopefully in the future we see these designs expanded upon with some other new maps. Is it lovely to get 4 new realistic maps? Of course it is. It is great to see them. Also, I am really looking forward to see what they do with this Vietnam style map. You know, we have some helicopter maps from it, but I'm sure eventually we'll get a ground map, we'll get an air map, and I'm looking forward to that. Overall, the changes or the maps that they've created here are wonderful. It is just kind of a shame that 3 of them are pretty much exactly the same. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.